Hey, it's time to play ball again. Welcome to Two Majors and a Minor. I guess I'm the minor, and the two majors are not with us today, unfortunately, John and Josh, but they've been busy at Wrigley Field this past week or so. I can tell you that. And Josh was a happy camper. I was texting with him during the ball game last night, and that was a wonderful game. And before we bring our very special guest for his third time here on the show,
Yeah,
let's Nico, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Yeah.
good. Thanks for asking, Tim.
Yeah, excellent. I said we've been real busy, over at the music store too. It's back to school with the band rentals and
Yep.
so forth going on, and got a new line of digital pianos that we started carrying this summer. You were
Oh, that's
asking me
awesome.
about them before.
Yeah.
The Dexy Bells, which are a very high end digital piano. They sound like the real thing. They play like the real thing.
Okay.
They actually have a real piano action in it with real wood keys.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're real nice. So stop in and take a look at those over at Piano Trends Music Company and shop online at pianotrends.com.
Yeah, come by, test them out.
Absolutely. You know what? Before we get into the show, and before we bring our guest Alex on, we got to talk about last night. Let's set the stage from last night's Cub game.
Lights, camera, and plenty of action. Pete Crow-Armstrong getting after it, sending the Cubs fans home extremely happy. The 12th walk-off win of the season, and for number 4 to punctuate a 30-30 season in back-to-back campaigns, absolute lamp lighter. Everyone going absolutely bonkers, and for good reason. You see it right there.
And let's welcome our guest, Marquee and Cubs broadcaster, Alex Cohen. Welcome back, Alex.
Great to be back. That puts a smile on my face right there. That was a pretty special moment, courtesy of
wasn't it though? I think I've watched it 33 times, just like PCA's home runs and stolen bases there.
Yeah, right. It's just
never
seen 2 ways, pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. So now you were at the game last night, and I know you weren't broadcasting, but you got to kind of watch it as a fan.
Yeah, no, you try to go in there, and anytime you get to watch a crosstown classic game, got to do it, got to understand the atmosphere and all that goes into a rivalry game like that. And for it to be a back-and-forth game like that, and for Pete to the first pitch he sees is a home run and the last pitch he sees is a home run, is a pretty special way to take in game 1 of that 3-game series.
Well, it was, and I'll tell you, it was exciting, and you had you on the edge of your seats throughout. Like you said, the Cubs start off with PCA and Seiya going deep. They've got a 2-0 lead. It's looking pretty good. And then the home run boogaboo hit Shota just one more time there, but he only gave up 1 last night. But unfortunately, 2 people were on.
Yeah, no, he pitched really well. Yeah. I mean, he struck out 10, only gave up 2 hits, and you make one big mistake, but that's what happens when you walk guys. You can't make that mistake. But, Shota came out of the game. Cubs were leading. He did his job.
He certainly did. And the way the Cubs came back and took the lead was pure hustle. That was definitely small ball at play in the middle innings there.
Definitely. And they've been doing that all season. They have an uncanny ability to make contact, get on base, one of the best base running teams in baseball. And they did have a base running issue later in the game yesterday, but I mean, anytime you can get guys like Pete Crow-Armstrong, Nico Horner on base, good things usually happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not going to see things like Alex Bregman getting picked off third base very often. In fact, that's probably the only time you'll ever see that happen.
Probably. I think that they would love to have that moment back, but fortunately it didn't come back to bite him in the backside.
Oh. Well, there were several plays during that game that I think shaped the course of the game. I think the ball strike challenges last night played a big part in that game. There were a few that didn't go the way the Sox ran out of challenges early. Yeah. And I think Carson Kelly made a good call. I think it was in the 8th inning. He made a good call to keep the count going in the Cubs' favor, and I think that helped with the inning. But I think the call in the top of the 10th with the White Sox, I think they made a good call there. The inning's over, you think, right? Webb has a strikeout, but the ball strike was challenged, and it was a ball. So the inning continued. So the White Sox had an extended opportunity to take the lead in the 10th, but Webb obviously shut the door down. And I think since early June, he has not given up the run.
Yeah. I mean, he's been their best reliever. Doesn't matter if you call him a closer or not. He normally gets the 3 to 6 most important outs of the game, especially the latter half of the game. But the changeup has been one of the best pitches I've seen from any pitcher, specifically this season. And just throwing it, especially in the at-bat to Benintendi, you throw 3 straight changeups, he didn't even come close. So that's pretty special reliever.
Yeah, he is. In fact, when Mr. Danny Palencia gets back, and it looks like he could be back anytime now. It looks like he's close to being back. It's going to be interesting to see how Craig Counsell handles the back end of the bullpen now.
I think that the more options they have, the better. Whether it is Daniel Palencia, Jacob Webb, getting Ryan Zepperjohn back on deck or back on track, just to have those 3 relievers hopefully healthy and pitching at their best come the end of the regular season. That's a pretty good 7, 8, 9 or high leverage trio right there for the Cubs relievers.
Oh, I think so as well. And it's a major point for this season. Early in the season, with all of the injuries to the pitching staff, they literally had an entire pitching staff listed on IL at one point.
Yeah.
Now they seem to have a richness in pitchers to choose from. So that's going to make, I don't know if it makes Counsell's job any easier, but at least now he has options instead of scrambling to get somebody.
Yeah, it's better to have options and try to piecemeal the bullpen together. And credit to Craig Counsell, credit to the Cubs front office, credit to the pitching department, Tommy Hotovy, Tyler Zombro. I mean, you name it. They really worked hard to make sure that their pitching was in a good place despite the injuries, and I think they really accomplished that.
No, they absolutely do. They absolutely do. We talk about X factors all the time, and there's 2 X factors that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
There was one that you mentioned earlier in the season where you thought the one Cub player that would be the X factor getting to October and then getting through October. I believe you said it was Seiya Suzuki.
Offensively. Yeah. I think that Seiya, I mean, even though the season that Pete Crow-Armstrong's having, and he's the MVP of the National League, in my opinion, it's not even, I won't say it's not even close, but I think he's the MVP. But Seiya, as a power-hitting right-handed bat in the middle of the order, he does things that other guys simply can't do in the lineup. Hits velo well, power to all fields, drawing a lot of walks. I mean, he's just been so consistent really since 2023. He's been a top 10 right-handed hitter in all of baseball during that stretch. And even with the slow start this season, he's probably going to get close to 40 runs. I would imagine, 26, 27 homers. You're looking at 90 runs batted in and a 350 on base percentage and an OPS in the 800s. Like, that doesn't grow off of trees. So his consistency and what he can do in the middle of that lineup from a right-hand hitting power perspective, it's irreplaceable.
Oh, I agree. And I also believe his defense has improved dramatically this year. He's made some outstanding plays, both catching and throwing. There was a play recently where he had to track down a ball in right field, and he threw him out at second base trying to
he threw Kyle Tucker. It was fun to watch.
Kyle Tucker. That's right.
Kyle Tucker. And I think Seiya defensively, like if you go back to his time in Japan, he was a Gold Glove caliber defender out in Japan, but you go to Wrigley and you deal with the swirling winds and you deal with Mother Nature's influences on Wrigley Field. It takes a little time to get used to. I think Seiya really over the last year and a half, he's been really good. And if you look at his defensive metrics in 2026, he is top 5 among defenders, right field, in pretty much every category. So he's a two-way player. He's really done it all this season.
He has, and I look at it and when I talk to friends and family, the frustration comes from a good place, but it's frustrating when you see the Cubs have so many opportunities to score because they're so good at watching the count, getting on base, first and third, first and second, bases loaded, 1 out. They don't always score.
Yeah.
But because they're always on the bases, there's always that opportunity for the big inning in the big game.
Yeah, I mean, they get on base better than any team in baseball. They lead the league in on base percentage. They lead the league in walks drawn. They are top 5 in the league in hitting. They're top 5 in the league in OPS. They're top 5 in the league in now slugging. So give credit where credit is due. They're streaky, just like every team in baseball. You look at the Dodgers, who are widely considered the best offense in baseball. Over the last 6 weeks, they haven't been great. They have an OPS in the low sevens. So
Right.
I think that is symptomatic of baseball. It's 162 games. So teams are going to do well for a long period of time, and they're going to struggle for certain periods of time. And fortunately, the struggles for the Cubs are only in the month of May, because aside from that, they've been the best offense in baseball.
They truly have. And when we get to October, it's going to be who gets hot those first couple of weeks in October and carries through.
Yep, absolutely. It's
You see.
and
Well,
it looks like the Cubs lineup is primed to do that. I mean, top to bottom in the lineup, got to get Dansby Swanson healthy. But if he's back and if he's healthy, I'm fully all in on this offense.
what's the last that you've heard on Dansby? Is he out for the 10 days, or do you think it's going to be
No,
longer?
I mean, he's on the IL. They said it's a grade 2 oblique strain. So, I mean, I'm sure they're expecting somewhere in the 4 to 6 week window. They're hoping that it's closer to 4 and not more than 6. But, yeah, at this point of the season, you get him back by October, you're in good shape.
You're in good shape. Well, even moving the defense around and moving Nico over to short, the defense is still a good defense.
It is. It is.
And
I think Nico is the best defensive second baseman in baseball. I think he's
No
an above
question.
average defensive shortstop. But the Chicago Cubs at their best is when Dansby Swanson's at short and when Nico Horner's at second base. And the sooner they can get back to that, the better off they'll be.
I agree. And I think Dansby is also one of those players that is a coach on the field.
Mhm.
So he can still be that coach on the field from the dugout. And I assume that he probably does. Because I noticed him in the dugout coming up and talking to players during the game. And they were either talking about where they're going to meet for dinner afterwards, or there was something
Or the
going
hair
on.
product that Dansby uses
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
exactly.
I mean, either or, but Dansby's a really big part of this team.
Yeah.
Leadership
without
component,
question.
on-field component, what he does defensively, how he hits at the bottom of the order. He's a guy that is one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball and goes 20-20 every year. So
True. So how about X factor for pitching? How do you see the pitch? You think the biggest concern or the biggest strength is going to be the starters, the bullpen? How do you see that playing out?
I mean,
Who-
I think the bullpen's really important. I think the way that Daniel Palencia comes back healthy, and if he does come back healthy and what role he plays, is a big X factor as a hard-throwing righty in the bullpen. They don't have that many of those. Really hope that Ben Brown can get healthy, and if he does, see what role that he comes into the Cubs pitching staff, whether it's starting pitching or bullpen. I think it would be the latter at this point of the season. So I'd say Ben Brown is another X factor. And then from a starting pitching component, the two guys they got at the trade deadline, Kevin Gausman, Clay Holmes, you get those guys for a reason to elevate you to another level or a certain level. And they've each had 2 starts at this point, one really good start and one not so good start. So they have more of the really good starts. The starting rotation's in a much better place than they were 2 months ago, and they could catapult this team to another level. So probably the 2 acquisitions in Clay Holmes and Kevin Gausman, Daniel Palencia and Ben Brown would be my X factors.
Well, I guess we'll see Kevin Gausman tonight. By the time the show airs, we'll know what happened. And then you get to call the game Wednesday with Clay Holmes.
Yep.
So
I mean, Clay was so good in his second start.
Oh, wasn't he?
And that first one, he hadn't pitched in 2 months, and second start just, it was a Clay Holmes type of start. Throw a lot of strikes, a lot of balls on the ground, sinker ball pitcher, not hard contact. That's what he was at his best when he was a 2-time All-Star reliever for the Yankees. And that's what he was last year as a really good starting pitcher for the Mets, and at the beginning of this year before the leg injury. So,
yeah, we look to be on paper to be in really good shape. And like we've discussed earlier, Council now has options at his disposal. And we'll have something this come October that we didn't have in the past that other teams like the Dodgers did, where we've got some of those starters that also can do well. Now we can bring them in from the bullpen during a short series, which makes
long relievers. I mean, what do you do with Javier Saad, Colin Ray, Edward Cabrera when he comes back from the blister injury? Remember, you can use Edward Cabrera in a variety of different ways because of the God-given arm talent, because he throws 98 to 99 miles per hour, because he has a 95 mile per hour changeup in. He can do certain things with his right arm that the other guys just simply can't. So, getting him back, and whether that's going to be as a starter or as a reliever, if they put him back in the bullpen, then you got some more velocity at the back of the bullpen. So it's definitely a weapon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in short spurts, I think that might be a real good place for Edward Cabrera come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, it gives him another option. It really does. And, as I said, Depends if Ben Brown's healthy. Depends if Justin Steele's healthy. It depends if Hobie Milner's healthy. Depends if Daniel Palencia is healthy. There's still so many ifs, and we're 6 weeks until the end of the regular season. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Okay, if everybody's healthy and you're Craig Counsell,
Sure.
Who's your 3 starting pitchers in the first round?
I mean, it depends on who they're playing. If they're playing, a team that is left-hand hitting happy, like let's say they're playing the Phillies, and the guys that you have to worry about are Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. Then my 3 starters right now are probably Matthew Boyd, Kevin Gausman, and either Clay Holmes or Shota Imanaga.
Yeah. It's a tough call, right?
Yeah.
Again, we got some riches there. Yeah,
yep.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say definitely the first 2. Because especially Gausman's his splitter kind of plays as a changeup against lefties. It's a lefty neutralizer. So I would imagine it's definitely those 2. And then it really depends on who's pitching well, who's healthy, and where the other lineup's at. But either Shota or Clay Holmes. And I think the edge would probably go to Clay Holmes because you're not dealing Jefferson Rojas to the Mets for a guy that you're expecting to be a reliever. You want him to start. You want him to get innings, especially on a contract year. So I would think Clay Holmes, assuming that he's healthy and is stretched out, probably gets a nod there.
Yeah, that would be good. It'd be interesting to watch and see as that goes. I want to ask you a question. What would Alex, the baseball fan, ask Alex, the broadcaster commentator?
I would ask myself what separates this Cubs team from last year's Cubs team.
Okay. So, Alex, what would separate last year's Cubs team from this year's Cubs team?
I think this year's Cubs team is so much more balanced offensively. I think that their at-bats are more competitive. I think Pete's better, and when your best player is a better player, it makes your team better. And when all the other parts have either gotten better or have just kind of stayed consistent, Nico Horner in the second half has been the Nico Horner of 2025. Seiya Suzuki has been arguably better than the 2025 Seiya Suzuki over the last 3 months. So when you have those 3 guys in the order that are so integral to the team's success, if they are better, the offense will more than likely be better. I think they did a lot more at the trade deadline. I think starting pitching-wise, they're so much deeper. And I think their bullpen in general, although last year they overperformed, this year they have better stuff. You get Jacob Webb and his changeup. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball for the last 3 months. You get Daniel Palencia back, hopefully pitching at an all-star level. And then you have Ryan Zeperjon when it comes to his stuff, like pure stuff. It grades out to being some of the best of baseball. So if you can put all of that together, your starting pitching depth, your best player being the MVP, and then your bullpen having better stuff than they had in 2025, you're a better team. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So when you're broadcasting, you're working with different color commentators from time to time. Because I've seen the games. You've worked with Elise Menaker and you've worked with JD. Does that change your flow of broadcasting and calling a game depending on who you're working with?
I wouldn't say flow. I think that the color analysts that I've been able to work with, whether it's Elise or JD or Cliff Floyd or Demp or Sut, I mean, they're so knowledgeable and they're so personable. They make it easy. You just have to lean into what they're comfortable with, what their strengths are, what they want to talk about, and what they don't want to talk about. And that comes with games and that comes with experience. But they're all so good that it really doesn't make it all that difficult. And it's my job as the play-by-play broadcaster to essentially be a point guard, to be a point guard to the color analysts for them to get the points that they want to get out, to be a point guard and dish out the opportunity to the sideline reporter, whether that's Elise or Taylor or Lance, and put them or help put them in a spot where they can get their stories out. Like the broadcast isn't about me. It's about the color analyst's experience and the sideline reporter's exposure and where they're at and where they're seeing things. So, yeah, I'm just a small part of it.
Well, you're very modest, but that's an outstanding way of looking at it too, because, we've listened to broadcasts from around the country when we travel a little bit. We'll listen to different broadcasters and ball games, and there's some great ones all over the country. Don't get me wrong. But Chicago and the Cubs especially, but even the White Sox, they're broadcasting. All of you guys, Chicago especially, I think have some of the top broadcast teams around. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because the fan bases here are so into it and the teams currently are exciting.
I think it's more of a credit. Sorry, I think it's more of a credit to the organizations and who they hire. I mean, you look at the Cubs, you have a Hall of Famer in Pat Hughes, and you have who should be a Hall of Famer in Boog Sciambi. I mean, Boog's been doing it for over 30 years for a variety of different teams and on a national level, and he does the World Series, and he just does such a wonderful job. And, on the radio side, it's Pat and Coom and Zach. And on the TV side, obviously, it's Boog, JD, and Taylor, but everybody else. And then you look for the White Sox, and when you have, Len Casper and DJ, and you have, John Schriffen, and you have Steve Stone, like you have guys who have done it for a long time, and they do it on a national level, and it's a pretty special city with a pretty special sports basis for broadcast talent.
It is. I was going to say this for a little later, but I'm going to bring it up now because it's kind of topical with what we're talking about.
Go for it.
Cubs trivia.
Okay. All right.
It's a two-parter.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it's a two-parter. One will be impossible to get, but I'll fill you in.
Okay.
Who was a starting pitcher and also collected a double on May 1st, 1975 for the Chicago Cubs?
I wish it would be Rick Sucker, but that's not the case. So
no, but I'll give you a hint. It is a broadcaster in town here.
You can say Stoney?
Yeah.
You can say Stoney.
Stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
He started that game and he had a double. And the reason I remember it so well is the second part. Who was the bat boy for that game?
You.
No, it wasn't. I wish. I was too old. But my brother was.
Nice. Close enough.
He was 15 years old at the time. We got to the game early because we would get to the game 2 hours before. And in 1975, if you got to the game 2 hours before, you were with 7 or 8 of your best friends. There was not a lot of people going to the game at that time.
Yeah.
So this little man in a pith helmet walks up to us and he says, "Hey kid, you want to be bat boy today?" And I'm looking at my little brother and he's looking up to me for permission. And I said, "Yeah, go ahead. What could happen?" So he goes off with this guy and they're walking off and I'm thinking, what am I going to tell my mother if I just lost my brother and he got kidnapped or something here? But it turns out it was Josh Cuono came up to get him.
Nice.
And so my brother ended up being the bat boy for the day. And he made one mistake as bat boy. After Steve Stone hit that double that we talked about,
yeah,
my brother was supposed to bring the jacket out to the coach to run out to him. He didn't. He ran out all the way to second base with the
nice. Love that.
So it was great. So it's on film somewhere, but yeah, so that was the trivia for today, and you did get it. You only needed one hint, so that was good.
I appreciate it.
Let's talk about your podcast, Cubs Now, that you do. You mentioned Lance earlier.
Yeah,
that's an interesting show. I love the perspectives because you guys are coming from two different ways of looking at it. Lance seems to be looking at it from an analytics point of view, and you're doing it from the kind of the broadcaster witnessing point of view.
Yep.
How do you see that? Do you think the analytics are becoming a part of baseball for the good, or do you think maybe we're overthinking some of it and we should just play ball a little bit?
I think all the above. Yeah, I think all the above. I mean, I think the amount of knowledge that we have on the game of baseball is really better than we've ever. But sometimes it gets in the way of actual decisions. So you really, there we are. There you can see me.
There we are.
Yeah, I think that the more information, the better. But you have to be able to use that information and utilize that information at a certain time in a certain place. Like, it's not all just like, oh, we're going to cram as much as we possibly can into 162 games. I think there's a space for the analytics side. I think there's a space for the feel, the eye test, the real world experience, the intangibles of baseball. So
interesting. When some of the Cub players that you've interviewed so far on the show, which Cubs player do you think is maybe the best storyteller or the funniest player that you've interviewed on the show?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a former player who's also a broadcaster. It's Ryan Dempster. It's not even close.
Yeah,
he's He's unreal, man. I mean, he's
I've
smart.
heard he's a
He's
prankster,
funny.
too.
He doesn't take himself too seriously. He remembers everything. I would say Ryan Dempster and Rick Sutcliffe are 1 and 2 because they've seen so much and they know so many people and they talk to so many people and they've experienced so many things. So that would be
And they seem authentic and genuine.
They are, because they're authentic and genuine. They're not putting on a show. That's them. So
yeah. There's another question people have asked me to ask you when we had you here. What's a thing or two that broadcasters may know about baseball that maybe fans don't realize, because you're kind of behind the scenes a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you just have a glimpse of what these guys do. Like, it's not just they show up to the field and they play baseball. Because sometimes you'll see on social media that if the Cubs are losing or if any team's losing, the fans like, well, they don't want it enough. They didn't want it enough. They don't care enough. And as somebody who sees like what they go through on a daily basis and all the stuff they put in before and after games, if they struggle and if they lose, odds are 99% of the time, it's not for a lack of caring. They care.
Right.
I mean, this is their job. They work their butts off. And for this Cubs team in particular, they are as focused and as close and as determined as I've seen in a long time. So, and that has nothing to do with if they win or if they lose. It is how they prepare for the game.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, because I think that's what a lot of fans would hope to hear. And I think it's tough, too, for Cubs players, especially because they're under such a microscope because the world is watching. And this town is so passionate about that team that when things go right, it's euphoria all the way through to the ceiling. And when things go badly, it's a hard time to get through just the next day until
it is. And people look for a reasoning why a team loses. It's as simple as the other team played better baseball than the other team, or the Cubs aren't going right, or they are slumping. Like over the course of 162 games, like I want to get a tattoo on my chest. Good teams play bad baseball. Good players struggle. Like it happens.
That's right.
It happens.
That's right. Well, I had some of the people I talked to when we're talking Cubs to say, yeah, but they had a 10-game losing streak. You can't do that and win. Well, they had 2 10-game winning streaks, though, also. So that they wiped one of them out. So just think of them as having 1 10-game winning streak.
Right.
In there, right?
And odds are, if you do have a 10-game losing streak, you're probably not going to win. But the way to combat that is to have multiple winning streaks, or over a 50 to 60 game stretch after the losing streak, you play 650 baseball. So, most teams who lose 10 straight are good baseball teams. But in this particular instance, the Cubs in 2026, they're a good baseball team.
They're a very good baseball team. What would you like to see the Cubs, if they have to figure out anything by October? Do you think they've figured everything out and was just push ahead and keep on going to October? Or is there something else that the Cubs maybe still have to kind of figure out before we get to the postseason?
I think a lot of it has to do with Dansby Swanson's health. I think if he is healthy, it solves like a lineup construction. You have one of your best defenders in the league at short. If he's not, I think Nico Horner does a fine job at shortstop, but that definitely limits your depth there. Because Nico's also a better second baseman than he is a shortstop. So I think you have to figure out the middle of the infield construction, which I would imagine would be, Nico Horner at short and Pedro Ramirez at second. But what if Matt Shaw comes back into the fold? You have to figure that out. So I would say probably that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And Matt Shaw should be coming back soon. From what I've heard, he's getting ready to do rehab.
Yeah, but it's been a while. I mean, you're approaching 2 months, 7 weeks of him not really having any baseball activities. Yeah. So not only does he need to get into games, he has to rehab, but he has to play well. I mean, when you're up here and you're playing in a pennant race, the expectation is you have to come up here and contribute and play well. So just making sure that he's in a spot to do that.
Well, and I think one of the pleasant surprises that helped ease the fact that we lost a depth player in Shaw was the play of Pedro Ramirez this year. He's been more than I think anybody expected.
It's been awesome, but he's a 22-year-old rookie, and now you're getting into September, and the pressure is a little bit greater, and the games are a little bit greater, and the atmospheres are a little bit greater. So there has to be some margin of, he's a rookie. He might struggle. So you have to
Oh,
be
absolutely.
So
Well, and you see, that's one thing that I think coming October, the Cubs, the organization has prepared for, because we now have, especially with the trades at the trade deadline,
Mhm.
we have experienced October players.
Yeah.
Plus, the guys on the team this year playing through the Milwaukee series last year, they now have deep playoff experience, which should portend well for us opening up this year. I would hope.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hope. And then getting a guy like Kevin Gausman, who pitched in the World Series
Yeah.
last year, and
Yeah.
you already
Pitching
have
well
like
in the
a
World Series
foundation
last
of
year.
success, and to add people who can contribute and give you some context to having success, I think that's really important too.
It is. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little football. Now, tell us your experience. Also, you're broadcasting football games.
Yeah, I got to do that this summer. The Indoor Football League just got some broadcast rights on Yahoo Sports Network, so they're trying to make their production bigger and greater, and they did that. And I got to call 8 Indoor Football League games at a variety of different places, and it's a league that's a lot of fun. It's gaining more notoriety, and anytime that I can combine my two favorite sports, which are football and baseball, and broadcast both of them in the spring and the summer, it's makes for a good summer.
Hey, maybe we'll see you down on the sidelines at a Bear game later this year.
Wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't
hate that at all. No.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a seventh inning stretch as we get, because that's the tradition here. You've done it twice. You ready to do it again?
Good.
Anything else that we should think about the Cubs before we sign off? You get through this stretch. What should fans be aware of or be hoping for?
Take
Just enjoy
notice.
the ride.
My thing would be take notice and appreciate your 24-year-old Gold Glove, 30-30, and probable MVP center fielder, because he's doing things on a baseball field right now that we haven't seen in Chicago consistently ever, and really for a long, long time. I mean, what he's doing is special. So just appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's Babe Ruthian as we're going here.
He's got 1,000 OPS in the last 100 games, and as a defense first center field, the best defensive player in the game, been able to do that offensively. It's appreciate him. Watch him.
Even if Babe Ruth did not exist, right?
Yep. It's
awesome.
Fun to watch.
Well, let's do that. We're gonna skip to a quick commercial, and when we come back, we'll do another seventh inning stretch. If you're got your vocal cords ready to go.
I'm ready.
All right. Looking for more than just a piano? Discover the complete music experience at Piano Trends Music Company. Yes, they're known for exceptional grand and upright pianos, but that's just the beginning. Piano Trends Music also offers band and orchestra instruments, guitars, violins, digital keyboards, and everything musicians and students need to grow and perform. Getting ready for school band? Picking up a guitar for the first time? Maybe upgrading your instrument? The experienced team at Piano Trends Music will help you find the perfect fit. Plus, with professional repairs, rentals, and private music lessons all under one roof, Piano Trends Music is your trusted hometown music partner. Visit Piano Trends Music Company in Crystal Lake, pianotrends.com, where music begins and every instrument has a story. And welcome back. And I want to thank Alex for being with us again here today. And this is your third time, so you are now an official regular on Two Majors in a Morning.
Let's do it. Awesome.
Let's do it. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I hear ya. A 1.
A 2. A 3.
3.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, for it's root for the
Cubbies. Cubbies. If
If they don't win the game, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the ball game. Let's score some runs, baby.
go get more runs, and we'll see you Wednesday at the park.
Sounds good.